Well, as the title suggests, this is a wee bit of a mashup. And no, I haven't added any daft music to it, so you'll just have to listen to me waffle on through the video. Now, while I was going through my hard drive looking for footage I could use for my new channel, Nitro HV, I found various projects, let's say, that I'd only shot one bird on. I didn't want to throw them away because there was some quite nice footage on them, and I could have put them into single short hunts, but I decided just to mash them together into one fairly long hunt that might be interesting for some people to watch. Now, the first of which is on this hill farm. Now, I have shot and filmed on this before, but this time I've set the hide up in a little walled off overgrown garden, and I'm setting my dead crow decoy and dead rabbit bait out at 50 yards. Now, this particular morning the weather was not great at all. You'll see the windmills in the background going around at quite a rate, and when it rained on and off it was coming down sideways, but I thought I would go up and have a go anyway. Now, the rifle I'm using this morning is my Ruger 1022 Custom. The scope mounted to it is an old Deben 2-10 by 50 DMP, and I'm using Winchester subsonic ammunition. Now, I've been sitting for an hour or so without seeing a thing when the farmer arrived to check the sheep, so I let him drive around and do his thing, and when he left I went out and changed the position of my decoy bird, hoping that this might help attract a bird down for a shot. And sure enough, it wasn't long before the birds turned up. I have a distinct feeling that they don't feel safe coming to the ground until they see that blue Land Rover drive up the road. The birds did land, but it was about a 90 to 100 yard shot, and in this stiff wind I really didn't fancy my chances getting a good clean hit, so I decided to wait to see what would happen. And thankfully my patience paid off and I got my first opportunity. Bird down. After a wee while I decided to go and rearrange my decoy pattern again and set the bird I had just shot up as a decoy. And it worked a treat. But I honestly don't know what I was doing in the hide, but I didn't notice it. The bird sat out there long enough to read a good novel, never mind time enough for a shot. By the time I spotted it, it actually worked its way up the field a bit. The wind was howling, the rain was coming down in sheets, the sun was in my eyes, any other excuse I could think of, but I didn't get the shot off. Oh, you talk about disappointed. If only I'd have paid more attention, this would have been a double instead of a single. After a while, another large crow-like shape dropped into the decoys. But it wasn't a crow, it was a raven, which is protected in the UK, so I can't shoot it. But look at the size difference between it and the hooded crow. I tried a few blows in the crow call, hoping that I might get a hooded crow to join it, but all I succeeded in doing was scaring it off. It maybe didn't like the Ballymena accent, hey. I sat a while longer, but the weather deteriorated, the birds lost interest, and I decided to pack up and go home. Now this is a totally different morning. It's pleasant to be in, it's spring. Holy smokes, was that a fox that just ran by me? I've only noticed that now, and I've had this footage for years. Cheeky devil. Anyway, I'm setting up the hide here. I'm using the bush chair hide. I have used this for years. I've actually broke the chair in it and replaced the chair and still using it. Really has come in handy. But you'll probably recognise where I'm setting up here from other videos that I've done. I have shot a lot of hooded crows from this point, and I try and use it 2 or 3 times a year, and it's been quite successful too. Now this is another sheep farm, of course, and usually at this time of year the farmer asks me to come down and try and take out as many hooded crows and foxes. Oh dear, actually that's quite embarrassing now after seeing that footage. Oh well, but take out as many as I can, as they can be a bit of a nuisance during lambing time, especially the hooded crows, which will take the eyes and the tongue out of any lambs or sheep that are too sickly or weak to defend themselves. Again, I'm using a dead rabbit for bait, but this particular morning I decided not to set the hooded crow I brought with me out as a decoy for some reason, and just rely on the dead rabbit to help bring the birds down for a shot. That's a younger looking fella there, hey. Don't know why I ever needed to wear a hat with hair as thick as that. Anyway, back to the day at hand. The rifle of choice, of course, is Ruger 1022 Custom with a Deben 2-10 by 50 DMP and Winchester subsonic hollow points. Now, after sitting for a good hour or more with neither hide nor hair of a hooded crow, I decided to quickly nip out and set out the dead hooded crow I brought with me as a decoy to try and change my luck. And with a lot more patience, it finally worked. Crow down. Finally. That was a long wait. Don't know what was wrong this morning. Bait setup was all perfect, same as you usually do. I guess it's just one of them mornings. There was crows crawling away in them tall trees over there, but they wouldn't come near me. And there was magpies in and around the trees where my hide was, chittering away, and they wouldn't come anywhere near the baited area either. And after about 3.5 hours I was going to give up,
because I was dying for a pee, and while relieving myself I decided, well, I'll hang on for another half an hour because the farmer was driving around the fields checking the sheep and that might shake things up. Got back in the hide half an hour later, that bird landed there and paid the penalty, but nothing has landed since. It's just one of them long boring mornings with very little action, but I got one opportunity, one shot and one dead crow, so I'll take that any day.
Now, this last hunt is on a farmland that's very local to me, and the farmer had noticed quite a few hooded crows dandering about his lambing fields, which is just in front of his home, and he asked me if I could come down and, let's say, discourage them or preferably remove a few of them if I could. Now, this presented a wee bit of a problem to me because the field was full of livestock, valuable lambs and sheep, which always tend to get in the road at the wrong time. But the farmer had recently dumped a couple of loads of dung and straw bedding in the middle of the field, so I decided to use it as a backstop so I didn't have to worry about what was behind the target. The problem, as you'll see, is what keeps walking in front of the target. You're always keeking through the corner of your eye, making sure that nothing's going to walk right into the line of fire just as you pull the trigger. See what I mean? That would have been a bad day to be a lamb. And to complicate things even more, there was a buzzard knocking about, which was sort of discouraging the crows from landing in the ground in the first place. But with a bit of patience, I finally got a decent opportunity. Only to get the dreaded click and no bang, so I quickly ejected the offending cartridge and got back on aim. And yes, I missed, but this is a semi-auto. The second shot was good, and he only got about 5 yards and dropped dead. If I remember right at the time, I think it was a light hammer strike. I went out and lifted the bird. I'm not sure if it was a good idea at the time as it got the sheep all riled up, but you can see the shot placement was good enough, just he didn't realise he was dead yet. The birds decided to return again, but as you can see they decided to sit high up above the field on the electric wires, where there's no safe backstop, so I couldn't shoot them. Then the buzzard made a reappearance, which probably was a big mistake because the crows really had a go at him. I should have had this crow, but as you can see I acted more like a jack-in-the-box and just wouldn't sit still. Here was my best opportunity for a shot, but taking the time to set the camera up instead of the gun, I lost the opportunity. Remember what I said about livestock getting in the road? Number 38 here is really proving my point. Good lamb, down, heel, way by. That's a boy. I'll maybe see you again when you put on another 45 kilos. And just to add insult to injury, this crow decides to land on my right hand side and have a go at the vitamin block set out for the sheep. I didn't take the shot because the sheep bear it down the distance. I didn't think it was safe, and I was worried the bullet would ricochet off a stone dike in the background and maybe head up to the right towards the farmer's house. And with that, I decided to call it a day, as I was scunnered of the crows running rings round me. Well, I know it was a bit of a different video to what I usually upload, but I hope you enjoyed the 3 hunts spliced together into one, even if the crows seemed to get the upper hand this time. Well, take care everybody, and stay safe, hey.